Hello guys and welcome back to my channel. My name is Sash. Welcome if you are new here. Thanks for joining me and I hope you enjoy this story time because I've never really been one to, I guess, share this online per se. I do talk about it a lot in my personal life. I'm very open and very transparent. I'm very real with my experiences with mental health and my experiences at university. But basically I'm going to break down, I guess, a story time on how my university gave me anxiety. My university degree gave me anxiety, and I didn't, obviously there are other things that come into it, sure, but the majority of my issues with mental health and the reason that I'm seeing a therapist today, a lot of it stems from university and what happened to me there. So I'm gonna jump into it. I'm not trying to boycott going to university. I love university. I went twice, I did 2 degrees. I think as an actor, if you want to work, you should get training, whether it be at university or not. It doesn't make sense to go out into the field if you haven't trained, if that makes any sense. Like, I just think it's very naive to just decide one day, oh, I could be an actor, it's easy. No, it's not. I appreciate everything I learned at uni, but it pretty much broke me and it took a long time to piece myself back together. So I'm gonna talk about a few instances that really shook me, and I guess putting out there what drama school is really like, I guess, and what it was like for me. I will probably start with the thing that affected me most personally, and then I will sort of talk about little things that I saw and what else happened. So we have end of semester chat, I guess, with the head of the university and one of our lecturers, and it's a very like private sort of chat. I can't remember what it's called. I feel like there was a name, but it's basically like an interview, like, how are you going? Like, how's everything? And this is my 3rd and final year. This is maybe July, August, and I was just at the breaking point with my relationship as well, so that was not helping my mood and what was happening. And like, I think, I don't know if we'd broken up then or just after, but pretty much in the interview I was excited to hear, you know, what was happening as rounding up the end of my degree, and I got told to my face by my lecturers that I was not where I should be, that I was not ready to graduate, that I hadn't shown enough improvement, that I had not picked up on things as well as I should have. And I was so confused because I had never really received a bad grade, and I felt like it was such a personal attack. I lived with 3 very talented women, and I was openly compared to one of my housemates who was also in my acting degree by these 2 women, by these lecturers. And they said, oh, you know, like, you should try to be as funny as blah, and she does really well in this, so why don't you try that? And just sort of was telling me that I should be more like my housemate in my performance. And my beautiful housemate, I'm still friends with now today, very comedic. That's her style of acting, and I was more on the dramatic side. Of course, actors should be versatile, but I preferred to do dramatic monologues, and I didn't see myself as a comedic actor because, yes, I had a lot of insecurities and I didn't think that I could compete with people who are very, very funny. There were so many funny people in my year level, and I just let them do that because they did it well. And I dabbled in comedy, we all did throughout the degree, but it's not something that I gravitated towards. But the way that they just broke me down in that interview was not constructive. It was just criticism. There was no real reason or no real explanation why I was doing badly when my grades didn't reflect that. And I had directors, like outside directors who'd come in to do shows, not have that sort of feedback. And it literally just put me right at the beginning of the degree. Like, I just felt like, what am I doing here? Why have I moved out of home, moved away, moved to this university, put my heart and soul and just ripped myself apart for this degree, and all I'm getting is negativity and basically like, oh, everything you've done just doesn't matter because you're not where you should be. And they couldn't give me ways to improve. It was sort of like, it's too late. And it was just the most awful interview ever. And nothing I could do after that made up for it. They just seemed to feel like I was a lost cause, that they couldn't work with me. One of the, like, the head of the uni, I feel like she hadn't even had me in her class yet. Like, it just didn't make any sense. And I didn't get negative feedback all the time in class. So I don't really know where it came from. It just felt like a really personal attack. And yeah, it gave me severe anxiety. The only thing that got me through the rest of the year is my final play, which I got a decent role. And my director was just so ballsy and like feminist and very rough. And her rehearsals got me back into myself and gave me a smidge of confidence to finish the year and graduate. But yeah, those women, they were just so awful. Anyway, yeah, so it just gave me zero confidence. And when I booked a gig in the first year out of university, I just felt like I had to latch onto that and do this performance gig that was like traveling throughout schools. It was like an educational theater thing, because I wanted to show them, like, I just felt like I had to prove myself to these people even after I graduated. And it just didn't make sense to me at the time. Now I think, why did I do that? But at the time I was like, look, see, I can get a gig. Like, a lot of people didn't get work, but I got work as soon as I left university. Like a month out, I booked this gig and it's constant work for a year, acting. Wow, look at me go. And like, they couldn't have cared less. Like, I know now that they repost and talk about other actors like doing well, and they couldn't give an absolute shit about me. And I don't know why I wanted their approval so much, but I think it was, I respected them, especially like the lecturers, and I really wanted to please them and to do well. But they basically just told me that I couldn't make it. And I didn't want to do acting for a very long time. And I still have days where I'm like, what's the point? Why should I bother? I'm not pretty enough. I'm not good enough. I'm obviously not like making it. So they were right. And it's very hard to get out of that mindset when it was really drilled into you that you couldn't. I'm just checking the time. I'm waffling on. Yeah, so it was drilled in, and it wasn't just to me. I had friends in other degrees under the same university be picked on for their size, their weight, for not fitting into outfits, or feeling like they should look thinner for the certain play that they were in. There were lecturers who actually went to coffee with students and sort of befriended them, and that made them favorites, and that got them higher up in the university in terms of what roles they got. There was such favoritism in my degree, and basically at the end of my degree, they had made us all seem like we were competition with each other, and it was such a toxic environment in my year level. I obviously have a lot of friends left, and I have respect for 99% of the grade, but at the time it was like this, what monologue are you doing? What are you doing? And like watching everyone like hawks, because we were so scared of the unknown. We were like fed this information about how ruthless the industry is and how they'll break you down, how directors all suck and how vicious it is. And then going out into the real world, I did a couple of short films, and it was so relaxed, and I was so overly prepared because I didn't want anything to happen and to get yelled at. And this whole idea about like agencies and this and that, I'm like, why did they scare us? It's really not that scary. And putting this fear, it didn't make us work. It made us work a lot harder, but not smarter. And it gave everyone such anxiety and this idea that no one will ever want to work with us if we're not like this, this, and this, and how we're all worthless. And it was just like this sense of, you're all screwed. And I couldn't believe the first class I ever did in Vancouver, I did my American accent for the first time in front of people who I mean, it's a Canadian accent that they have, but I was so nervous because I was met with such judgment doing things in front of a group that I was like on the verge of tears it was an intense emotional scene anyway. But everyone clapped after I finished this scene in this camera class, and I just couldn't believe it. That sense of warmth and like, well done and congrats, and like this welcoming, like you're in a family now, like we all support each other. I didn't find that in my final year at university and how they portrayed it was going to be like in the film and TV industry. Theatre's a bit different because you are working as a big family and you like live and breathe theater and you're in this group and you rehearse and rehearse. Film and TV is different. It's a bit more like you rock up on the day, do it, you leave. It's a bit more separate and a bit more lonely, I guess, in that way, unless you're on like a TV series and that's you're a series regular, etc. But if you're just going in for a one line or you're in a movie for one scene, it's not as, you know, family orientated like a theater, if that makes any sense. If you're in the industry, you'll get what I'm talking about. But yeah, I just was so shocked at how lovely everyone has been. I've met with so many casting directors here in Vancouver and been met with like warmth, and they want you to do well. They're not like, everyone's bad, no one will like you, the directors in LA hate you. It's like, you were amazing. It was just not who they were after, or they chose a man, or they went with someone, they just cut the role altogether, or your look wasn't what we were after, we already have a blonde as the lead, or whatever. Like, it's not met with like, well, yeah, you weren't good enough, so lose some weight, or yeah, it's because you're not funny enough, like stand out more. Yeah, so that's my story time. There are so many other experiences that other people have had in different, you know, year levels about the trauma that they got from drama school, and I don't know if it's every drama school or just mine, but yeah, this sense of vicious competition and how especially the women were at each other's throats a lot at the end. It was just so unnecessary. Like, you will never be the same as the person next to you. You can be a similar casting, but if they book something, why not be happy for them? Because especially with the lack of work in Australia, be happy that your fellow actor is getting a gig. Support her, lift her up, or him. Don't be like, well, why did you get it? Who did you get it from? Where did you hear about that? Did you get it yourself? What agency are you with? How come you got that? Like, I'm like the whole like, I think that I'm better looking than you, but you got this. Like, I'm so confused. Like, oh, you did that, let me see. And like this judgment and like these eyes that just pray, and it's just this, it's just such a weird toxic environment. And it made me not want to do acting because I had such low self-worth after my degree. I just felt that I wasn't as good as my peers. I wasn't as funny or gorgeous as my housemates. And I just felt, what is my talent? What do I bring to it? I'm not the funny girl. I'm not the beautiful girl. I'm not the sexual girl. Like, who am I? What is my brand? And yeah, you have to be aware of your casting, but why does it have to be so secular and single and like, yeah. Anyway, hopefully this is a really weird random story time, but all I'm saying is that there's life out of university. It's taken me years. I'm still seeing a therapist, but it honestly really made me doubt everything, and I lost the spark and the confidence that I had as a small kid after I left university. They also drag up a lot of emotional trauma, and they want you to tap into that. And at the end of the day, if it's not safe and you don't feel like exposing yourself to a group of people, you shouldn't have to. There should be some secrets in your life. You shouldn't have to dig up your most personal, deep, dark secret just to get an emotional response for a scene. There are other ways of doing it that's not so harming to your mind. And I saw a lot of that. I saw a lot of people break down because the director or the lecturer or whoever was just like pushing them, get to that place, like get to that trauma. No, that's not fair. That person has issues and trauma they don't want to deal with. They want to deal with themselves in a space that's not as this is for a grade, this is for a mark, this is for a play, this is for a scene, this is for a monologue, this is for a voice exercise, this is for a, not really dance, but like this is not for university. That's for yourself to deal with privately or with a therapist or in a safe space of people who are trained to deal with such trauma. You don't have to bring up very hectic stuff in your life to get somewhere in a scene, to dredge all that up. It's not, there are so many other techniques that you can do in acting that can get you to that place of, you know, crying or weeping or yelling, and it doesn't have to be the trauma that, you know, you shouldn't have to bring up. It's not their business, you know? Everything I felt like was on the table and everything was for sale, you know? Like they just broke us all down. But I do love that I trained. I'm a stronger person for it now. It did affect me a lot, and I still am friends with so many people at uni, and I love them dearly, and we all went through it together, so we're all in it together. Let me know if you've had a similar experience, if you've had any trauma from your university. Thank you guys for listening to my tale. Sorry I went on for so long, and yeah, I hope you can respect that this is my journey and my story, and it's personal to me, and I'm not trying to out any lecturers. They will never watch this anyway, but yeah, I hope that this gave some clarity, and hopefully you feel a bit supported knowing that you're not alone if it did happen to you, and or you've now gotten to know what happened to me a little bit in my life. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching and for supporting me by watching this, and yeah, subscribe if you'd like to see more from me, and yeah, I'll see you in my next video. Bye.